In June 1972, a woman appeared in Cedar Sinai Hospital in nothing but a white, blood-covered gown. Now this in itself should not be too surprising, as people often have incidents nearby and come to the nearest hospital for medical attention, but there were two things that caused people who saw her to vomit and flee in terror. The first being that she wasn't exactly human. She resembled something close to a mannequin, but had the dexterity and fluidity of a normal human being. Her face was flawless as a mannequin's, devoid of eyebrows and smeared in makeup. There was a kitten clamped in her jaws, so unnaturally tight that no teeth could be seen, and the blood was still squirting out over her gown and onto the floor. She then pulled it out of her mouth, tossed it aside, and collapsed. From the moment she stepped through the entrance to when she was taken to the hospital room and cleaned up before being prepped for sedation, she was completely calm, expressionless, and motionless. The doctors thought it best to restrain her until the authorities could arrive, and she did not protest. They were unable to get any kind of response for her, and most staff members felt too uncomfortable to look directly at her for more than a few seconds. But the second the staff tried to sedate her, she fought back with extreme force. Two members of the staff had to hold her down as her body rose up on the bed. With the same blank expression, she turned her emotionless eyes towards the male doctor and did something unusual. She smiled. As she did, the female doctor screamed, let go out of shock. In the woman's mouth were not human teeth, but long, sharp spikes. Too long for her mouth to close fully without causing any damage. The male doctor stared back at her for a moment before asking, "What the hell are you?" She cracked her neck down to her shoulders to observe him, still smiling. There was a long pause. The security had been alerted and could be heard coming down the hallway. As he heard them approaching, she darted forward, sinking her teeth into the front of the throat, ripping out his jugular and letting him fall to the floor, gasping for air as he choked on his own blood. She stood up and leaned over her face, calmly, dangerously close to his. As the life faded from his eyes, she leaned closer and whispered in his ear, "I am God." The doctor's eyes filled with fear as he watched her calmly walk away to greet the security team. His last ever sight would be watching her feast on them one by one. The female doctor who survived the incident named her the Expressionless. There was never a sighting of her again. So this is an interesting little story. I've read like way back, like I don't know, like 2015 or 2014. It certainly did catch my eye. It was kind of like a fun little story. Like I'm into monsters and stuff like that, of like supernatural origin at least. So the Expressionless Woman was an interesting little read. Even I remember like some like other creepypasta channels, which I'm not gonna name drop. I've done it like way back in the day as well. So it was interesting, but I always wanted to give it my take. Like the Expressionless Woman was to me a very, I don't know, cliched kind of like way. I kind of like the beginning of the story because a woman out of nowhere, like imagine like you're sitting in the waiting room of a hospital, and like out of the sliding doors comes a woman like in a medical gown. I think that's the one thing that I kind of ruined it for me. Like, why is there a woman out of nowhere just showing up in a medical gown with like a kitten in her teeth? Like human beings, I doubt can actually like really like, I don't know, like an alligator, like just chomp on something and just keep it there. I know that's highly, I think that's highly impossible. At least I think so. I'm not sure. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Like, who knows? At the end of the day, but it's kind of a little bit of a like an unsettling image to just see that. But again, the squirting of blood, I don't think so much gore is necessary to make something creepy or scary. I think there's way more. I think there should be a way more emphasis in movies or like in stories where it's the atmosphere at the end of the day. Like, you really don't need a, like, it's just the unsettling image. Like, she could have just been a regular kind of woman that just had a kid in her mouth. She could have done, you could have done everything minus the blood and the gore and the I am God. I think it would have been much more of an unsettling kind of image. And like people were vomiting and like fearing from this woman. Yeah, her appearance is quite interesting at the end of the day, but it's not something that you would really kind of like, I don't know, like you would probably vomit out of fear or just be in that kind of like moment where you're like terrified of your own existence and your own life. Um, it certainly it's interesting at the end of the day, but I kind of find it more fascinating that the hospital is actually mentioned within the story, that it's actually located like Cedar Sinai Hospital is actually a real hospital in LA. So I did find it fascinating that there's an actual real location within the story that people can actually be like, hey, this is an actual real place. It's not some made up who knows where. And the picture at the end of the day that most people even associate with the story is basically a picture taken by Lord Snowden, Anthony, like something. It was like Lord Snowden, Anthony Armstrong, I think, something like whatever. It's some dude. It's some photographer basically took the picture back. I think in wait, I think it was like 1986, I believe. At least I remember like it, like something like that. It was like that. Again, I read the story like way too long ago, so I'm just making this for myself. I know like no one's even gonna watch it. I have like no viewers or no nothing on this channel. I'm even like rambling at this point, like a rant. So it's kind of like my way of like using my YouTube channel finally to do something. Yeah, so basically the Expressionless, just to wrap it up, is a story about a woman that does very typical stuff. So when it comes to choral, it's too cliched, if you ask me. The picture is basically like students around like a Waxford patient. She doesn't even look real. Come on, she doesn't look real. And the whole "I am God" kind of moment, it's meh. It's kind of not interesting to me, at least. It didn't really kind of creep me out. It didn't give me an unsettling feeling. It didn't do anything I think that was supposed to do, like a creepypasta or a campfire story is supposed to like give you jitters or whatever. It didn't do any of that. It was just a story. It's still just a story. I give props to the guy that actually invented it. That he found something interesting. Not like 1972, like the 70s were wild times. Like there could, like, can you just imagine? She could have been like a crackhead. That actually better. Just picture this. A crackhead in a gown, in a white gown, just showed up with like a cat in her mouth, like a dead cat. It's not a live cat, it's a dead cat. It's not bleeding, it's not like it's some roadkill. And the woman just shows up on the hospital. Everyone's freaking out because again, she looks like she's been she's been dumpster diving for the last like several fucking days. Like that's why the people were unsettled by her appearance, and they took her to the actual like room. They prepared her for sedation and all that stuff, and then she was like spasming out, like she had like a little bit of a stroke, not a stroke, like an episode, and like no one, like the doctor maybe got bit, but he got bit, I don't know, like on the shoulder or whatever, some other place, and this woman gave him rabies. She gave him some like disease, and that'll be it. I think that's way more unsettling. Crackheads are, I think, more scarier than I think the expressionless woman. Yeah, people would be freaked out, but she also, I think the story is kind of weird that it ends like they never saw her again. Like, well, like what? We should probably get like the Scooby Doo gang to freaking track her down and discover what actually happened. Imagine like the Imagine like the Scooby Doo gang just finds her, just removes the mask, and it's like Sarah Palin. I don't know what I'm rambling. Like I think it's whatever. Yeah, it's a story. I'm not gonna rate it or anything. It's just a fun little story. It's not real. It's a campfire story. It's a creepypasta, whatever. So I hope anyone, if everyone at all watches this, I hope he or she enjoys it. That's it for me. Bye.